I was in the garage under the car again, just like every other Saturday when I needed space to think. The light was flickering overhead, one of those irritating buzzing fluorescents that seemed to mimic the inside of my skull lately. That day, something felt off before the first wrench even turned. Not just in the air, but in my bones. You know how animals sense earthquakes? It was like that, a kind of quiet dread I couldn't place yet. The garage door was open. I heard her heels, not the cliché kind, not dainty, but sharp, like she meant to be heard. She walked across the driveway fast, phone in her hand, not noticing I was watching from the shadows beneath the Buick. She was dressed like she was heading somewhere with purpose. Not dinner, not drinks. Something else. Black dress, subtle slit up the thigh, that jacket she only wore when she wanted to be noticed. I called her name once. She jumped like I'd hit her with a taser, covered it with a laugh. "Didn't see you there," she said, and shoved her phone in her purse way too fast. She never told me where she was going that night. Just that Kayla needed her. That was all. No details, no return time. Just a quick spray of perfume. Not her usual scent, something stronger, unrecognizable, and she was gone. I stayed under that car for hours after she left, not working on anything. Just lying there thinking, replaying that twitch in her face when she saw me, the way her fingers trembled when she zipped her purse. Like her body had already betrayed her, even if her mouth hadn't caught up. Midnight. She still wasn't back. 1 in the morning. 2. No text. No calls. I sat on the couch staring at the front door, the kind of silence in the house that makes your own breath sound suspicious. Then, at 3:17 a.m., headlights cut across the window. She stumbled in. Her eyeliner was smeared like she'd been crying, but her mouth was tight. Too tight for someone upset. She looked like someone who just won an argument and didn't want to admit it. I said nothing at first. I wanted her to speak. She didn't. She went straight to the kitchen and poured herself a drink. Straight bourbon. No ice. Didn't even flinch as she downed it. I stood at the doorway, arms crossed, watching her like she was someone I didn't know. Because maybe she wasn't anymore. Then she finally spoke. "You're not going to ask where I was?" I didn't answer. I didn't want to play that game. Not yet. "I needed air," she added, tone flat. "That's a long time to breathe," I said, and her eyes flicked up at me like daggers. And then, like it was rehearsed, she said, "You're always in the garage, Mike. Always. I go out for one night and suddenly I'm a suspect." It wasn't what she said. It was the way she said it. So calm, like she was daring me to accuse her, like she was begging for a fight because she knew exactly where it would go. But I didn't bite. Not yet. Instead, I walked over, opened the front door, and pointed to the spot she parked in. "There's a white scratch across the bumper. That wasn't there yesterday." She froze. I took another step. "Your hair smells like cloves. That's not your shampoo. And your jacket." I pulled it gently from her shoulders, held up the collar. "There's a lipstick stain on the inside. Dark red. You don't wear that shade." She slapped the jacket out of my hand. "What is this, an interrogation? You tell me." Then it happened. She picked up the glass she just finished and hurled it across the room. Not at me, but close enough to make a point. It shattered against the wall, spraying glass and bourbon into the air like fireworks. "You want to know where I was?" she shouted. And just like that, she ran. Ran out into the street barefoot, still half-dressed, tears in her eyes, leaving behind the wreckage of that moment. I didn't chase her. Couldn't. Not because I didn't want to, but because whatever she was running from, it wasn't me. It was whatever she'd already done. But what happened when she came back that night changed everything. That I didn't move from that spot for what felt like an hour. Just stood there, the front door wide open, her shattered glass still bleeding bourbon down the wall. The night outside was quiet, too quiet. No wind, no crickets, like the whole world was holding its breath with me. At 4:09 a.m., the sound of tires pulling into the driveway broke the silence. Not hers. Car I didn't recognize. Sleek, foreign. Headlights cut across the living room floor like searchlights. Then it stopped, engine idling. I stepped out onto the porch, barefoot, arms crossed, not ready but unable to stay inside. The driver didn't get out right away. Then the passenger door opened. Sarah stepped out. No shoes, no purse, her jacket gone. Just that black dress, now wrinkled, and her hair a wild mess like she'd been running her hands through it for hours. She didn't look at me, didn't even glance, just leaned in through the open window of the car and whispered something to the driver. Then she walked past me. I followed her inside. Whose car is that? She ignored me, went straight to the kitchen again, opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water, twisted it open like she hadn't just come home in another man's car. I stepped in front of her, blocked the hallway. This time I wasn't waiting. You said you needed air. You didn't say anything about needing a ride back from a stranger at 4 in the morning. She took a long sip, like she was buying time, then finally looked me in the eyes. He's not a stranger. My stomach dropped. That one sentence, that casual cruelty, did more than all the silence in the world could have. I stared at her, waiting, hoping she'd backpedal, explain, lie, anything. But she didn't. He's someone who listens, she added. Someone who doesn't hide in a garage for half our marriage pretending the world outside doesn't exist. There it was. It wasn't just what she did. It was that she wanted me to hurt. This wasn't shame. It was punishment. I work, I said. I provide. I've been here every day, every night, through everything. I built this house with you. Don't stand there and rewrite history just because you made a mistake. She smiled. Actually smiled. That cold, dead kind of smile that doesn't touch the eyes. Mistake, she said. No. A mistake is marrying someone who stopped seeing me years ago. I felt something crack inside me. I took a breath, trying to steady myself, and asked the question I didn't want the answer to. How long? She looked down. Not like she was ashamed. More like she was annoyed I'd asked. 3 months. 3 months. I echoed, voice flat. 3 months and you've just been what? Sneaking around after dinners? Telling me you're with Kayla while he's parked down the street waiting for you. She didn't deny it. She just walked past me. That's when I saw it. A folded piece of paper fall from her purse as she brushed by. I picked it up, opened it. It was a hotel receipt. Same date she told me she was visiting her sister. Same weekend she came back exhausted and slept for 12 hours straight. Room for 2. Champagne. Late checkout. I looked up at her, and she knew what I was holding. She didn't panic, didn't cry. She just said, I wasn't going to tell you because I thought you already knew. I thought you were just too proud to admit it. That line broke something in me. Not because it was cruel, but because part of me feared she was right. Part of me had known, had ignored the signs, had let the rot grow under the floorboards because I didn't want to rip them up and see the truth underneath. She turned and walked to the bedroom, slammed the door behind her, and I stood there, hotel receipt in hand, finally realizing that everything I thought was solid in my life had been crumbling behind my back for months. And now all I could think was, if she came back in another man's car, what exactly happened in that car before she got here? I didn't sleep, not even close. The receipt stayed on the coffee table all night, untouched, like a silent witness I couldn't ignore. I stared at it until the sunrise peeled across the living room floor and turned everything orange and raw. Behind the bedroom door, she didn't make a sound. No apology, no explanation, nothing, just silence. Like she was already gone and just hadn't packed her bags yet. At 7:12 a.m., I heard the shower running. So that was the plan? Pretend it didn't happen? Let steam and soap wash away the night like she hadn't just torn everything we built to pieces? I opened the bedroom door without knocking. She was in the bathroom with the door cracked open, humming. Actually humming. The smell of that same unfamiliar clove-scented shampoo was thick in the air. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, fists clenched. She came out 20 minutes later, wrapped in a towel, eyes landing on me like I was an inconvenient surprise. Don't, she said before I could speak. I'm not in the mood for another guilt monologue. Guilt. Guilt. I stood up. She flinched. Not because I moved toward her, but because she knew I wasn't going to let this go. You're not in the mood? I said, voice low. You blew up your life last night, got out of a stranger's. Sorry, not a stranger's. Car at 4 in the morning, and now you're what? Back to routines? She didn't blink. She dropped the towel casually, pulled on leggings and a shirt like I wasn't even in the room. Like I was just some roommate she was mildly irritated with. You think you're the only one who's hurt? She said, tying her hair up. You think this is easy for me? I laughed. Couldn't help it. The sound came out sharp and empty. Easy? You've been living a double life. Lying every night. Kissing me goodnight with his mouth still on you. Don't you dare stand there and talk about how hard this is for you. That did it. She turned, eyes blazing now. You want honesty? She snapped. Fine. I didn't slip. It wasn't a mistake. I chose this. I chose something that made me feel alive. Something that didn't look through me like I was furniture. That moment was acid. She meant it. There was no regret in her voice, only defiance. And something else. Something darker. Satisfaction. Like she was finally saying what she'd wanted to say for months, maybe years. I walked over to the closet and pulled open the drawers. What are you doing? She asked. Packing, I said. You can have the house. I'm not going to fight you for the walls that heard all your lies. She smirked. Actually smirked. Oh, you're leaving? How brave. Her voice was venom. I could feel the heat rising in my neck, but I didn't give her the show she wanted. I packed 2 bags. Just clothes. Left the rest, wedding photos, gifts, memories buried under silence. I didn't ask where she was going that day. I didn't want to know. I didn't ask his name, because if I heard it, I'd never be able to forget it. But just as I reached the front door, bag in hand, she said one last thing. Something that froze me on the spot. You know what the worst part is? She said, arms crossed, leaning against the doorway like we were just talking about weekend plans. You were almost enough. Almost. And that word, that single, sharp word, cut deeper than everything else combined. I left. But what happened the next day turned this whole nightmare inside out. I didn't go to my brother's. Didn't crash at a friend's. I drove. Just kept driving until the sun was high and the gas tank was low. Pulled off at some nameless motel 2 towns over. One of those rundown places where the vending machines are empty and the ice tastes like cigarettes. I paid cash. Didn't want a paper trail. Didn't want anything tying me back to the wreckage I left behind. The room smelled like bleach and old regret. I sat on the edge of the bed and finally let myself feel it. Not just the betrayal that had already sunk its teeth in. It was the humiliation that burned now. The image of her getting into that man's car. Slipping out of the house like a thief. Knowing I'd be home waiting, clueless, loyal. It wasn't just that she cheated. It's that she enjoyed watching me not know. I barely slept. Just laid there with my thoughts spiraling, replaying every second of the last few months. Every lie, every weird excuse, every time she picked a fight just to storm out. And I kept landing on the same question over and over. Who the hell is he? She didn't name him. She didn't have to. But the way she said, he's not a stranger, told me everything. He wasn't some one-night mistake. He was a presence. A fixture. He'd been around. Maybe I'd even met him, laughed with him. That thought made my skin crawl. The next morning I drove back. Not because I wanted to see her. I didn't. I went back because I wanted names. I needed to know who thought they could crawl into my life, rip out the center of it, and leave with her lipstick on his collar like a trophy. I parked a block away, watched the house from a distance like it was a crime scene. No car in the driveway, curtains open. She was home. I walked up the porch like I still lived there, and in a way I did. Still had a key. I let myself in. The house was too quiet. I called her name once. Not because I wanted to see her, but because I wanted her to know I was there. She came out of the kitchen holding a mug, surprised but not scared. Her hair was still damp. No makeup, no act, just her. What are you doing here? She asked, voice guarded. Who is he? She took a slow sip, not answering. I stepped closer. You owe me that. After everything, you owe me that much. Who is he? She finally met my eyes. You really want to know? I nodded. She walked past me, set her mug down, and picked up her phone from the counter. Unlocked it, scrolled. Then she turned the screen toward me. There was a photo, a selfie, taken in a car. Her and him. And when I saw who it was, my knees actually went weak. Tyler, my coworker, the guy I trained myself. The guy who used to come over for football Sundays and family barbecues. The guy I vouched for when the boss asked if he could be trusted with client accounts. He was smiling in the photo. That smug, relaxed grin he always had. Like nothing could touch him. Like this whole thing was a joke he was in on. And her? She was curled into his side like she belonged there. Like that was the real version of her, and I was just the rehearsal. I looked at her. How long has he been in our house? She didn't answer, so I asked again, louder. How long has he been in our house? She looked away, whispered it. Since before Christmas. That was 5 months ago. 5 months of shared dinners, of movie nights, of her telling me she was tired when I reached for her. 5 months of me standing next to him at work, trading jokes, all while he was sliding into my life behind my back. And then she said the most disgusting thing I've ever heard come out of a human mouth. It started when I realized he listened more in one lunch than you have in the last year. I stared at her, everything inside me going still. Then I said, then go listen to him explain to HR why he no longer has a job. And I walked out. But later that afternoon, something happened that made me realize I'd barely scratched the surface of this nightmare. By the time I pulled into the office parking lot, my hands weren't just shaking, they were burning. Every part of me itched to confront him. Not like a man screaming in the rain, but like something colder, sharper, the kind of confrontation that doesn't end in fists, but in consequences that stick. I didn't go to my desk. I went straight to the director's office. Martin, my boss, knew something was off the second he looked up. Jesus, Mike, you look like you've been hit by a truck. I didn't sit down. I told him everything. Not the affair, not yet. I told him how Tyler had been misusing company resources, how he'd been logging overtime while he was very clearly somewhere else. I had proof, logins from our project system that didn't match our activity reports. And then I dropped the personal bomb, cold and surgical. I trusted him. I brought him here. He's been in my house, with my wife, while collecting a paycheck with my signature under his training reports. Martin sat back, stunned. Is this personal or professional? Both. He nodded slowly, then said, we'll call him in. 15 minutes later, Tyler walked into the conference room where I was waiting. Same smug face, same fake laugh as he greeted me like everything was normal. Hey man, he said, sitting down. Everything okay? I didn't speak. Martin did. He laid it all out, the discrepancies, the suspicious behavior, the sudden location gaps in our remote tools. Tyler's smile twitched. Barely. But I saw it. I'm being set up, he said too quickly. Someone's messing with my numbers. Are they also messing with my wife? I asked. Flat. He froze. Martin looked between us, then stood. I'll give you 2 a minute. The door clicked shut behind him. Silence filled the space like a storm cloud. I leaned forward. You were at my table. Ate food I grilled. Told me I was like a brother. He didn't respond. She showed me the photo, I said. You didn't even have the decency to keep her out of your phone. Tyler tried to play it cool, but the sweat was rising on his neck. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. No, I said. It wasn't supposed to happen at all. Then I stood and said the one thing I came there to say. You don't get to walk around here anymore like you're just a guy doing his job. You're a snake, and I'm cutting you off at the neck. He didn't reply. He didn't deny it, because there was nothing left to say. Security walked him out 2 hours later. I watched him from the second-floor window, carrying a cardboard box, his head down. He looked smaller. Not sorry. Just caught. Like a child who didn't get away with the trick this time. But the real twist didn't come until later that night, when I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. Just one line. If you think Tyler was the only one, you haven't been paying attention. No name. No follow-up. My chest went hollow. My mind started sprinting through every possible scenario. Was this someone warning me? Mocking me? Was there more? I tried calling the number, disconnected. I sat there in that empty motel room, phone still in my hand, realizing that the story I thought I was living was nowhere near over. It was about to get worse. I didn't sleep that night. Again, that message, those 13 words, kept looping through my head like a noose tightening. If you think Tyler was the only one, you haven't been paying attention. Over and over. I stared at the screen until the battery died, like the answer might crawl out of the pixels if I just looked hard enough. At first, I thought it was a bluff. Someone trying to mess with me while I was already down. But the longer I sat with it, the more I realized something ugly. There were signs. Moments that didn't fit. Comments she made. Strange looks from mutual friends. The way she suddenly changed her passcode 3 months ago after 4 years of sharing everything. I'd built this story in my head where she made one bad decision. One wrong turn with one snake. But what if Tyler was just the first name to float to the surface? What if there were more? I had to know. By 10 a.m. the next morning, I was parked outside Kayla's house. Her best friend. Her alibi on too many nights. The same Kayla whose name she used as cover for emergencies, last-minute girls' nights, and wine therapy sessions. I knocked. She opened the door half asleep, wearing a hoodie and confusion. "Mike, we need to talk." She hesitated but let me in. The second I stepped inside, I saw it, her hesitation, her guilt. She was sitting on something she clearly didn't want to say. But I wasn't here for pleasantries. "Did you know?" Her eyes widened. "Know what?" "Don't insult me, Kayla." She sat down on the couch, rubbing her forehead like the truth was giving her a migraine. "I didn't know about Tyler at first," she said slowly. "But, yeah, I figured it out." "When?" "A while ago." I paced. "Did she use you as an excuse?" Kayla looked down. "Almost every time. And you just let her?" She snapped then. "I'm not her babysitter, Mike. You think I was rooting for this? You think I liked covering for her?" I begged her to stop. She didn't listen. "You don't know who she's become." I stopped cold. "What do you mean who she's become?" Kayla hesitated. Then she stood, walked into the kitchen, and came back holding an envelope. "She left this here by mistake a few weeks ago. Said it was just old receipts. I didn't look until last night." She handed it to me. Inside were 3 Polaroids. Real film, not digital. And in them, not Tyler. 3 different men. 3 different settings. One in a hotel bar. One in a park at night. One in our house in the living room. I felt my breath leave my body when I saw the angle. It was taken from the mirror's reflection. She was behind the guy, smiling. She'd taken that photo herself. This wasn't a fling. This was a pattern. A life she was living behind the curtain while I was busy fixing pipes, paying bills, planning anniversaries. She wasn't cheating. She was collecting. Building something twisted out of the ashes of our marriage. A version of herself I didn't even recognize. Kayla's voice cracked as she said, "I think you only know half of it." I looked at her. "What do you mean?" She opened her phone, tapped around nervously, then held it up to me. It was a private Instagram account. Username @night_widow_. I didn't understand at first, until I saw the photos. Black and white shots. Artsy. Stylized. All cropped to avoid faces. But the poses unmistakably intimate. Accompanied by cryptic captions like, "Devotion tastes better when it's stolen," or, "He said he loved her." I said, "Prove it." And one of them, unmistakably, was me. From behind. Sitting at our kitchen table, reading something. Oblivious. While her hand reached into the frame, snapping the photo. Captioned, "He thinks I'm making dinner. I'm making memories." That's when I realized. She wasn't hiding the affair. She was documenting it. Performing it. Curating it. There were more photos. Too many. Some taken while I slept. Some from places we visited together, where she must have peeled away for 5 minutes, long enough to message someone else. And in every photo, in every line of text, there was one thing clear. This wasn't about love. It was about power, about control, and about the thrill of holding a life in her hands while building a new one behind my back. I stared at that account for a long time. Then I asked the only question left in my mind. "Who is she, Kayla?" Kayla didn't answer. Because maybe even she didn't know anymore. I left Kayla's place without another word. There was nothing else to say. The sun outside was too bright, the world too normal. People walking dogs, checking their mail, kids on bikes. And I was standing in the middle of it all like someone who just escaped a burning house no one else could see. I sat in my car for 10 straight minutes before the adrenaline stopped making my fingers twitch. Then I opened my phone and typed the username @night_widow_. Private. Still private. No mutuals. No public name. No bio. But now I knew. I knew she'd built that second life like a cathedral, secret, sacred, and full of shadows. The woman I married had turned our entire relationship into a performance for strangers. I went back to the motel, locked the door, and didn't move for hours. My mind ran in circles trying to make sense of her. What kind of person documents betrayal? What kind of mind finds art in deception? She wasn't just lying. She was enjoying the fact that I didn't know. She made it beautiful. She packaged it. And it hit me like a gut punch. I wasn't even her main character anymore. I was a setting. I was the wallpaper in her play. A backdrop. That night I drank. First time in months. Not to forget. No, I wanted to feel it all. Every drop of rage and disgust and heartbreak. I sat there in the silence. The hum of the fridge the only sound. Until something else buzzed. My phone. A DM. From a burner account with no followers, no posts. Just one sentence. You want the full list? I stared at the message. My first instinct was to block it. Burn it all down. But I couldn't. Curiosity isn't something you control in moments like that. It owns you. I replied. Yes. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then the messages started coming one by one. January 13th. Girls' trip. He picked her up outside the wine bar. Red BMW. Name, Grant. Works at a design firm downtown. February 3rd, Hotel Eden. Room 304. Man is married. Goes by R. March 21st. Said she was getting her nails done. Spent 2 hours in a car parked behind the pharmacy. License plate ends in 79 quetzales. April 9th, Tyler. You already know. Each message like a blade. I felt my mouth go dry. My pulse actually slowed down, not sped up. Like my body was trying to protect me from absorbing the full weight of it. And then the final message. She's meeting someone again. Tonight. I froze. Not was. Is. Tonight. I typed fast. Where? Another minute passed. Then the reply came through. Room 607. Brighton Suites. Reservation is under L. Collins. Check-in confirmed 6:03 p.m. My hands didn't move for a full minute. She wasn't hiding anymore. Not really. She was just assuming I wouldn't look. That I wouldn't dare chase the thread far enough to unravel her latest lie. I looked at the time. 6:42 p.m. I stood. Threw on a jacket. No plan. No script. Just fire. The Brighton Suites was 20 minutes away. I don't remember the drive. Just flashes of headlights. Turns. The echo of my own breath. I walked straight through the lobby, past the concierge up to the 6th floor. Room 607. I stood outside the door, heart silent, like it knew better than to get in the way. Then I knocked. 3 sharp times. No answer at first. Then a voice. Her voice. Just a minute. I stepped back. The handle turned. And when the door opened, it wasn't just her standing there. It was her in a robe and a man I recognized instantly. Her therapist. The same man she cried to for clarity. The same one she said helped her process our marriage. And now I understood. This wasn't chaos. It was strategy. It was a long, calculated burn. And I had just walked into the center of it. He froze first. Dr. Colin Myers. Mid-40s, polished, neatly groomed. That careful therapist expression still halfway glued to his face, like he could talk his way out of this the same way he talks people off cliffs. Except this time, the ground was crumbling under him. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. She, on the other hand, didn't flinch. Not even a breath of panic. She pulled the robe tighter around her waist like she'd just been interrupted mid-spa and tilted her head. You shouldn't be here, Mike. I almost laughed. I shouldn't be here. I stepped into the doorway before he could close it. That's funny, Sarah, because I'm pretty sure you said therapy was helping you fix our marriage. And now I'm looking at your healing process wrapped in a hotel robe. He had the audacity to say, let's de-escalate. No, I said sharply. You don't speak. Not a single damn word. I turned back to her. You looked me in the eye and told me you were trying. That you were doing the work. You cried in our kitchen about how broken you felt. About how you wanted us back. Was that all just to buy time until this appointment? She shrugged. A shrug. Like this wasn't the fourth man. Like this was normal. Tuesday night plans. People connect in strange ways, Mike. She said. Calm as a lake. Colin helped me. See parts of myself you ignored. Are you even capable of shame? I snapped. Her smile was soft. Empty. No. I'm capable of honesty. You just don't like how it looks. I turned to him, still frozen, still searching for some professional vocabulary to bury under. You preyed on a patient, I said. You exploited someone vulnerable. But don't worry, Doc. You're not her first mistake, just her next. He finally spoke. She told me you were gone, that it was over. I stared at him, my voice colder than I thought possible. She's been saying that to every man she's used. His face fell. He realized it now, the pattern. He wasn't unique. He wasn't special. He was one more fool. Then she dropped the match. You know what's worse than you finding out? She said, voice low, lips curled. That I don't even care. Not anymore. Not about the marriage. Not about the house. Not about you. I haven't for a long time. I stared at her. This woman who once begged me to hold her when her father died, who danced barefoot in the rain on our anniversary, who whispered promises into my ear at midnight like she meant every word. Now she stood in a hotel hallway, her therapist half-dressed behind her, and she told me to my face that I meant nothing. And still, something in me stayed calm. I hope he knows what he's walking into, I said, nodding toward Colin, because soon enough he'll be standing in my shoes. And when he does, I hope he finds that same empty mirror you left me staring into. I turned and walked away. Didn't run. Didn't shout. Just left her there in the wreckage she'd built, like a queen in the ruins of her own broken castle. But back at the motel, my phone buzzed again. Another DM. Check the storage unit she rented last December. Unit 38. A new address was attached. And I realized something. The House of Mirrors wasn't finished. She was still hiding pieces. And I was going to find every single one. The next morning I was standing in front of a rusted gate behind a 24-hour gas station on the edge of town, staring at a row of storage units that looked like they hadn't seen daylight in years. The air was thick, like it didn't want me breathing in what I was about to find. My stomach hadn't settled since I read that last message. Unit 38. I walked the row, counting silently until I reached it. No camera, no number pad, just a manual lock. A fresh one, clean, silver, new. I cracked it open with the bolt cutter I'd picked up on the way. My hand was steady, which surprised me. Like my body knew this wasn't the time for nerves. The door groaned upward like it had something to confess. Inside, silence. First, I saw boxes. Neat. Labeled in her handwriting. Old journals. Summer clothes. Miscellaneous. Books. But then I saw a black trunk in the far corner. Not labeled. Not dusty. And padlocked. It was too familiar. The kind of lock she kept on her high school diaries. I cracked it open too. And what was inside made my entire body tense. Letters. Stacks of them. Dozens. Folded, refold, aged in places, new in others. And each one, every single one, was addressed to me. But they were never sent. The first one I opened started with, "To the man I can't speak the truth to, only write it." She wasn't just cheating. She was documenting everything. Her thoughts, her justifications, her plans. Some letters detailed nights she spent with other men. Not in graphic terms, but emotionally dissected. What they made her feel. What I didn't. Some weren't even about the affairs. Some were about our life, our routines, the small ways she said she tested me. There was one letter dated the day after our 3rd anniversary. "I told you I loved the gift. I hated it." I smiled because that's what good wives do. But in my head, I already knew I was leaving. Just not yet. Another was about Tyler. He was never going to last. But he made me feel new. That's all I ever wanted, to feel like I still mattered. Even if I had to break everything to get there. She planned the destruction. There were charts, actual charts, tracking her emotional satisfaction. Lists of names. Some crossed out. Some circled. One page had 2 columns. How they see me versus who I am. Under how they see me, she wrote, devoted, tired, sweet, dependable. Under who I am, she wrote, unapologetic, unclaimed. Above, she saw this entire double life not as a tragedy, but as a study. I wasn't her husband. I was her subject. Her ongoing psychological project. There were photos, too. In envelopes. Most of them were casual. Parking lots, coffees, faces turned away. But every single one was timestamped and logged in a small notebook titled, "Moments I Chose Myself." She'd been preparing for something. I didn't know what yet. until I found the final letter. It was in a red envelope, thicker than the others, dated 3 weeks ago. Mike, if you're reading this, it means you finally stopped being afraid to see me. I've never hated you. I just outgrew you. I created a world where I could evolve without asking your permission. And yes, I'm leaving. For real this time. You'll survive because you were never really with me, were you? Just near me. I'm giving you this because I'm done carrying it. You carry it now. Good luck. That was the last page. There was no goodbye, just silence and dust. I stood there in the dark, that red envelope in my hands, and realized she hadn't just left the marriage. She'd outpaced it, outsmarted it, left a breadcrumb trail only I would bother to follow. And now I knew everything. But what I didn't know, not yet, was why she wanted me to. Why leave this behind? Why now? That answer came sooner than I expected. Because when I left the unit, there was a man waiting by my car. He wasn't a stranger. He was one of the men from the Polaroids. And he had something to say. He was leaning against the driver's side door like he owned it. Tan jacket, aviators, smirk. His presence was so casual you'd think we were old friends, except I'd seen his face before. Not in person. In one of the Polaroids. The man from the hotel bar photo. The one with his arm around my wife, drink in hand, like he belonged there. I stopped 5 feet from him. No words yet, just a stare that could have broken glass. He lifted his sunglasses, scanned my face like he was making sure I was who he thought I was. You're Mike. Not a question. You have about 3 seconds to explain why you're here, I said, jaw clenched. He raised both hands in mock surrender, but the smile didn't leave. Relax. I'm not here to throw punches. I'm here to tell you something. Something I think you're gonna want to know. I said nothing. Let him sweat. He looked down, then back up, more serious now. She did the same thing to me. The same exact thing. Love-bombed. Stolen moments. Made me feel like I was the only one. Then I found the box. I blinked. You've seen the storage unit, he said, watching my face closely. Good. Then you know she's not just messing around. She's building a legacy. A record. I took a step closer. And what, you're a victim now? His smile cracked, something darker underneath. No. I was a believer. She had a way of convincing you that the rules didn't apply to her. You start thinking maybe she's right. Maybe you're the one who's basic, boring, replaceable. His voice dropped to a whisper. And then you see your photo in a pile with 10 others. That hit me harder than I expected. Why are you telling me this? He looked away for a moment, then back. Because I saw her last night. After the therapist. She came to me next. Same pattern. Same moves. But this time I didn't open the door. You're proud of that? I asked, voice like ice. No, he said, flat. I'm scared. That pulled me up short. He leaned in now, voice lower. I think she's about to disappear. She's been closing accounts, rerouting mail, clearing traces. I have a friend in banking. She moved a large sum last week. Offshore. What are you saying? I'm saying, she's not done yet. But she's about to be. She wanted you to find that storage unit. She left that trail for you. Why? He didn't answer right away. Then, because she wants the final page of her story to be written by you. She's making you the ending, the narrator, the cleanup crew. That way, she's already gone when the dust settles. I stared at him, the pieces falling fast now. She had staged every step. Each man, each photo, each betrayal, it was all choreography. A kind of private masterpiece. She wasn't just burning bridges. She was filming the fire. And I was the poor idiot holding the camera. He handed me a slip of paper. An address. Last one, he said. I found it in her glove compartment when she used my car last month. No name. Just that. I took it. You're not going after her, are you? He asked. I didn't answer, but he saw it in my eyes. He nodded. Be careful, man. She's not just dangerous. She's done feeling anything at all. Then he walked off, disappeared into a silver sedan, and drove away like a ghost who'd finally delivered his message. I looked down at the address. It was out of state, remote, somewhere she could vanish, or start over. I folded it once, slipped it into my pocket, and stood there with a decision weighing down every inch of my body. I had the whole story now, all of it, but the final chapter. that was still mine to write, and God help her if she ever thinks she'll write me out of it.